Hey everybody, welcome back to Instant Gameplay. My name is Sean, and today we are continuing the countdown for the top 50 board games of all time, in my opinion. Now, something I did not address in the last video that I want to address very, very quickly is that this list is not me saying that these are the only games you are allowed to like. These are my favorite games in my opinion. If your games that you like are not on this list, that doesn't discount your opinion. You can still like the games you're allowed to like. My hope with this video series is that this just gives an insight on some other games that you might enjoy. There are a lot of games out there I have not played. There's a lot of games out there that I have played and haven't liked. So I'm sure that there are some games here that you have not played that you would like, or there are games you have played that you don't like. This is just my personal opinion. But that having been said, let's get on with the list. Today we are counting down numbers 40 through 31, and I'm really excited. We've got some really good games in this list, this chunk of the list. We've got some big games, we've got some small games, heavy, light, a really good mix here. So let's get on with it with number 40. Number 40 on the list is a game that if you saw just sitting on the shelf at Target, you might say this game is just another game that they threw a property on just to make a quick buck. But actually, the game is fantastic, and that is my number 40, Bob Ross, The Art of Chill. Now, this game, again, looks very, very silly. It looks maybe just like a stupid game, but it's not. A lot of strategy involved in this one. You are trying to get to, I don't know how many points it is. I think it's 20, 25, 30. You're trying to get to 30 chill points first. And you do that by racing Bob Ross himself in painting a picture. But you're not only racing Bob, you're also racing the other players at the table. You do this by taking cards off the table that represent different paint colors, different tools that Bob Ross himself used. And then there's also a die that you roll at the beginning of every turn that tells you if you maybe can take an extra action, or if Bob paints, or if other things happen. But on your turn, you can either take different things from the board, like the paint or the tools. You can paint part of the picture. You can clean your board, things of that nature. And then you get bonus points based on if you are the first one to paint these different aspects of the picture versus Bob and versus the other players. Really, really awesome little game. Again, you can get this at Target, and if you think that the game is stupid, give it a shot. There are plenty of videos out there online that teach this game. Maybe I'll do one as well. The game is 12 plus, but I think that is not accurate at all. I think 8 plus is probably more accurate to this particular game. 2 to 4 players and plays in about 30 minutes. That part I think is correct, that it does play in about 30 minutes. I really, really enjoy this game, and that's why it's my number 40, Bob Ross, The Art of Chill. My number 39 is a party game, and this game is one of my favorites. I've played it with my siblings, I've played it with my friends, I've played it with all sorts of different people. In fact, when I told some individuals I was doing this list, a greater number than one told me that this game better make my list, and it has. It's my number 39, and that is Dixit. I love Dixit. Dixit takes the very popular, if not overused, Impress the Judge mechanic, like you would see in Apples to Apples or Cards Against Humanity, and kind of spins it on its head a little bit. So everybody has a hand of cards that have different pictures on them. They're just could be random things. And on your turn, you are going to take one of those cards, place it face down in front of you, and do something or say something that describes that. You can say just a word, you can say a phrase, you could say a quote, you could sing, you could do whatever, as long as you are doing something to describe that particular card. Then everybody else is going to take your description and play a card face down as well. You're then going to shuffle them up and you're going to play them out. Now, instead of just being like, oh, which one is the best description, because that's no fun, this one takes it a little bit deeper. Everybody else now has to guess which card is yours, and you will get points for whoever picks your card, but you don't want everybody to pick your card, because then you don't get any points. But you don't want nobody to pick your card, because then you don't get any points. You want some people to get your card. But also, if it's not your turn and your card gets picked, you get points for that too. So it's a really good balance of earning points and kind of just this silly fun. I've played this a lot, and I really, really enjoy it. There are a bunch of different expansions out there. I've played with a few of the expansions as well. Really, really fun. It says on here, this is by Asmodee, by the way, and it is... Where is the player count on here? Here we go. 3 to 6 players, that is accurate. Because it's a party game, you do need 3 players. Just like most impress the judge style games, you need that 3 players. I would say that 4 players is the minimum. I wouldn't play this with less than 4 players. 8 plus, probably pretty accurate. Maybe 7 plus, but 8 plus is pretty good. Plays in about 30 minutes. It's a very quick game, very lightweight game, good party game. And that is my number 39, Dixit. My number 38 is a game that's very appropriate for a holiday we just passed at the time of this filming. We just passed Halloween. And of course, there's some really great Halloween and horror games out there, and I'm a big horror fan. I love horror movies. I love scary things. Not so much haunted houses and going to those. I don't find any joy in that. But scary movies and horror board games specifically. This is not the first horror game you'll see on this list, but it is still a great one. I actually just played this with my wife and my brother-in-law, and it is my number 38, Betrayal at House on the Hill. I love this game. This game's great. This game is awesome because it starts as a cooperative game, purely cooperative game. You're working together to build a haunted house. You're exploring this old, decrepit house on the hill. And as you go through the house, you're going to be turning over room tiles and collecting different items, encountering different spooky events, and maybe running into an omen or two. But every time an omen card is pulled, that's one of the 3 types of cards, if you pull an omen card, then you have to take some dice and make a haunt roll. And eventually that haunt roll is going to result in the haunt happening. And when the haunt happens, the game shifts from a purely cooperative game to a game that is one versus all. One person ends up being the traitor, and then you get to take on one of 50 scenarios. Now, there are expansions that add more scenarios, but in this game, one of 50 different scenarios that could play out, and they're all completely different. We've played one with the mummy, we've played one with werewolves, we've played one with demons, I played one with like an invisible man type scenario. Very, very cool. There's a ton of different scenarios. I don't want to give too many of them away because there's just some really, really cool scenarios in here. Again, a couple expansions out there. There's also some variations of this game. The newest being one that just came out. It's a Scooby-Doo version, which I really want to play because I'm a Scooby-Doo fan. And I think that would be really, really cool to incorporate that into this system. So, yeah, the game itself is, we have a player count on here. I'm sure we do somewhere. Maybe, maybe not. Ages 12 plus. Yeah, that could be accurate just because there is some more spooky themes on there. There's going to be some discretion involved if you want kids to play this game. This is by Avalon Hill Games. This version is by Avalon Hill Games that I have. And the game can take anywhere from an hour, 45 minutes to an hour to 2-3 hours. Depends on the scenario you get. Depends on what happens in the specific scenario with the players you have, the player count, all that. It all varies. But there's enough variation in here that the replay value is fantastic. I love this game. And that is why it is my number 38, Betrayal at House on the Hill. My number 37 is another party game. This one I haven't played in a while, because you do need at least 5 players to play, so getting that amount of people interested in this game isn't always easy. But I love this game, this party game. I've played it with anywhere from 5 to 10 people. I love it, and that is The Resistance. The game has aged a little bit since it first came out. I don't know exactly when it first came out, but this one says copyright 2012, so that gives you an indication it's gotten a few years on it, but I still love it. This particular version is by Indie Boards and Cards. It's 13 plus. games like this, 13 plus is okay. It depends on the theming. There is another version of this. There's the Resistance Avalon, which is medieval, so you've got Merlin and stuff like that in there too. That version I really enjoy too, but this version, I've only played that version once. This version I played a bazillion times. I love it. And basically what happens in this game is you are taking on the roles of a group of people trying to overturn the government in a futuristic society. And that group is called the Resistance. And what you are trying to do is every round you're trying to go into your mission and pass the mission. The problem is at least 2 people, depending on your player count, at least 2 people in your group are going to be government spies trying to stop you. And they are working together secretly, and you're working together to try to pass your missions. They want the missions to fail. It's so much fun. I've been a spy, and I've also been just a regular person as well. And I kind of prefer being a spy in this game, but being a regular individual is so much fun too. The game... It says on here 30 minutes. It depends on your player count, because when you have your player count going and how much conversation is going trying to figure everything out, that's gonna add time. So I've played it with 5 players, that takes about 30 to 40 minutes. But I've also played it with 10 people. That's taking closer to an hour just because of the amount of conversation that is around the table. And that's why I love games like this, these social deduction games. Keyword being social. It encourages players to talk and to get involved with each other and converse, and I love that. This is just a fantastic, fantastic game. My number 37, Resistance. My number 36 is a tile-laying game. A very, very, very pretty tile-laying game. And I play this game a lot with my daughter. It's one of her favorites. It is a game that I don't think it's too old. I'll have to check the box, but it's just in the last few years or so. Really, really great game. My number 36, Lanterns, the Harvest Festival. We just call it Lanterns otherwise. This version is from Renegade Game Studios. I love this game. It's so great. Very good filler game. It doesn't take long to play. The box says 30 minutes. And that's about right. Ages 8 and up, again, that's about accurate as well. And 2 to 4 players, really, really easy. I've played this with 2 players, I've played it with 3, and I've played it with 4. I love this game. In this game, you are going to be laying tiles that have different lanterns on them. And the best way to know how the tiles look is just kind of to show you, but because of the camera, I can't really get a close-up on these. But basically, each tile has 4 sides on the tile. It's a square tile, and each side is a different color lantern. Depending on where that lantern sits on the table, if it's facing in front of me, I might get a yellow lantern card, or maybe able to collect yellow lantern cards, whereas the other side's going to be facing the other player. Maybe that's pink, so that player's going to get pink lanterns. So depending on where you're sitting at the table determines what color lanterns you're going to get and how that card is oriented. The idea, it's set collecting. So what you're trying to do is get a number of cards that match the different colors in the game. There's a bunch of different colors. And then trade those in for different points. And you're doing things like getting 4 of a kind, 3 different pair, or 1 of every color. And if you're the first person to get that, you're going to get the most points. But as the little tiles that you collect for trading in for those points go down, so do the point value. So you really want to be the first one to get those points, but you want to be able to get as many points as possible. But you also want to watch, because as you're playing tiles that help you, you could be helping your neighbor as well. And I love that little aspect of having to not only look at myself and my strategy, but look at the other players and see, well, if I lay this down, yeah, sure, I can, make a dedication is what it's called on my next turn to get points. But I'm not going to be able to do that before you do, and you're going to be able to get the points first because I'm laying this tile. It's so great. It's just another level of strategy in such a small little game. I love this. Again, my daughter and I play this all the time. It's definitely one of her favorites. I'll have to have her do this list because I'm curious to see what her top 50 games would be in comparison to mine. There's a lot of games on my list that she can't play because she's too young. There's a lot of games on her list that I don't play because I'm older and I don't like those types of games. But this one definitely would make her list, probably in her top 10, to be completely honest with you. This is also one of the only games I can get my wife to play. She really likes this game too. But again, 2 to 4 players, 30 plus minutes. depends on player count, but usually about 30 to 40 minutes, I would say. And eight and up, that's pretty accurate. I think my daughter started at age 7 with this one, but not a big deal. I mean, it's a very, very simple game. I did say I was going to try to get a year on this game, and I don't see one on the box, but I believe it came out in 2016. Was there 2015 or 2016, I want to say. I could be wrong, but I believe that was when it came out. But that is my number 36, Lanterns. We are halfway through this chunk of the list, and we've still got 5 really great games to go through. Number 35 is another IP game, and this game is by Cryptozoic Games. I don't see this on a lot of top any videos. I am biased with this game. This is based off of my favorite movie of all time. Absolutely my favorite movie of all time, but I never ever see this on any list. But the game is so great. It's a cooperative game, and I'm not going to keep you in suspense any longer. It is Ghostbusters, the board game. I love this game. Not only I'm just going to have to open the box and show you why I love this game. I haven't been doing this, but I'm going to do it with this case because the game is just so great. You get a ton of minis. I mean, it's a cooperative game where you are playing as the 4 Ghostbusters, trying to rid the town of, ghosts. I mean, those little minis, there is a little, see if I can get it out. There is a little Ecto-1 car, and I don't paint my minis, but a little Ecto-1 car, all the Ghostbusters, all the different ghosts, there's a Slimer, and then of course, nice inserts, and then of course, you can't have a Ghostbusters game without my favorite character from the movie, the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Look at that. Eventually I'm going to get these painted. I don't paint. I'm artistic in drawing. I can't paint to save my life. But this nice minis. I love the minis in this game. But anyway, you are going through different scenarios in the game. And actually, this needs to go down here. You are going through different scenarios in the game. They all come in this little book here that tell you, what needs to happen in the game in order to win. So you're going through these different scenarios. And normally it's if you get all the ghosts out of the particular map, you win. But the map changes, and the ghosts change as well. And you have boss ghosts you have to face. There's a really cool mechanic in how the ghosts move. There's a little chart, and it's a grid of 8 numbers, and you roll the die, and depending on where that number sits on the grid in correlation to what you rolled, that's how the ghosts move. It's a very, very cool mechanic. I've never really seen anything like that before. It's really awesome. A lot of custom dice just to roll around and fight and different things. There is a sequel to this game. They did one for Ghostbusters 2. I don't have that one. I've never played that one. I'm sure it plays very similarly. But the cool thing about that one is you actually get to go in the Statue of Liberty head and because in the movie they go around the Statue of Liberty, and then you also get to switch between your proton pack and a slime pack. And this one you just have your proton pack, but it's really cool. There's little rings that you put on top of the ghosts, and it's really, really cool. The reason this falls so low on my list at number 35 is probably because I have a hard time getting it to the table with people, which is unfortunate. I really do enjoy this game a lot, but it does take a little bit to set up. Convincing people to play it is tough, and because not a lot of people know about it, they're going to want to play games that they've heard of or that we've played already, and I can understand that. I respect that, but I love this game. I'm not even doing a good job describing it because it's just so great, but yeah, again, by Cryptozoic Games, 1 to 4 players. There's a solo mode in here. Maybe I'll do the solo mode on this channel. That would be something awesome so you guys can get a real taste of what this game has to offer. But yeah, 1 to 4 players. Ages 15 and up. I think that is only because of the theme with the ghosts. I think maybe 10 and up. 12 and up. I'm going to say 12 and up would be more appropriate for this game. And playtime is about an hour. It does vary based on the scenario you pick and what happens within that scenario. But it's just an awesome game. I do hope that I can get the sequel at some point to play that. But, if you have never played this game, I'm sorry, you can hear my cats scratching at the door there. If you've never played this game or you've never been able to get your hands on it, find yourself a copy and play it because it's fantastic. My number 35, Ghostbusters, the board game. My number 34 is a card game that has a million expansions, but I absolutely love it. If you are a fan of really anything, you will like this game because there are so many ways to incorporate anything you might like into this game. And I have one of the big boxes for it, and that is Smash Up. This is the big geeky box. I needed the big geeky box in order to hold all of the expansions that I have, because I have quite a few. But I really enjoy this game. It is a card game where you're going to take two different factions, take their two decks, put them together, and then battle another player with their two factions. There's all sorts of different things, like I think the base game is vampires and wizards, dinosaurs and ninjas, and then a bunch of others too. Pirates, all sorts of stuff. Some of the expansions give you, there's like a horror expansion that adds werewolves. There's a sci-fi expansion. There's one of my favorite expansions, which I have in here, is the Big in Japan expansion, which adds the non-copyright version of things like they look like Power Rangers, kaiju monsters, things that are supposed to look like Pokemon, and then things that are supposed to look like a Sailor Moon type of cartoon, like anime girls. They are awesome. I love all of those. But anyway, there's something for everybody in this game because you can find factions for literally anything you might like, and I love that. But as you play, the goal is to get 15 points first. And the way you do that is there are going to be a number of bases on the board, different locations. And what you're doing is playing cards in your hand to those different locations or bases in the game to try to get the number on the base to score. There's a number on each base, and once that number is reached, the base scores. And whoever is in first place at that particular base gets a certain number of points, second place gets a certain number, third place gets a certain number. There's also, each base has a different ability that also can add a little bit of turmoil or luck to the game as well, which I really, really enjoy. This particular version, the Big Geeky Box, came with the Geeks expansion, which we rarely ever play with because they're very overpowered. But it comes with a Will Wheaton card and a Felicia Day card. So if you want to get your hands on this, you could easily, and I think the bigger, geekier box also came with that expansion, but I didn't need that big of a box. But it's just literally a bigger box than this. It's about that big. It's huge. But Smash Up, what a game. This game is fantastic. My brother-in-law really likes this game. Well, we have played it quite a bit, and this is one of those games where you don't just play it once. You play it multiple times because you're going to be like, all right, I want to be ninjas and dinosaurs. Okay, we're done playing. All right, you just had those zombies. I really want to give zombies a shot. Now I'm going to be the wizard. I'm going to be some zombie wizards. And you just keep going. We have played this game for hours on end, just switching up the factions and just continually playing. It's so great. The game is by AEG, really great company there. The game is for it says for 2 players. I'm not sure if that's where it plays best, is at 2 players. I normally play it at 2 players, but I've also played it with 3 and 4 players. Yeah, I guess 2 players probably is where it plays the best for me. You might think differently, but the game is fantastic. 45 minutes playtime, that's probably about right, depending on the factions you get and the bases and how they come up. Some factions just are crap, and they're awful, and I just don't like them, but we play with them anyway. And then it says for ages 14 and up. That's probably just because of the amount of reading on each card. If you have a child who is pretty good with understanding individual instructions per card, they could probably understand this by age 10 or 12. My daughter's not quite ready for this game yet, but soon. And when she is ready for it, we'll probably play it a lot. I can see this game going up on my list quite a bit based on how she likes it. So we'll see. But that is my number 34. I have to look over here to see what number we're on. 34, Smash Up. My number 33 is one of the most heavy games on my list. And even though it's one of the heaviest games, I still love it. I've only played it a handful of times because it's so heavy. Convincing people to play this game is really difficult. It takes up so much room on the table, but I love it. The theme is amazing, and that is Trickerion, Legends of Illusion. A lot of people have never heard of this game, but if you have and you've played it, you would agree with me that the rulebook is not written well. So I have printed off just some of my personal, like I went in and I made some player aids because the ones in here, every player gets a book. And in that particular book is everything they need. So this is literally their player aid. It's a little book themselves. Really all they need to know is the stuff on the back, and then they get to the stuff in the middle. But in this game, you are playing a magician. Like, how cool is that? How often do you get to play as a magician in a game? And it's a worker placement game, and you are trying to go around the town trying to do different things. So you can go to your workshop to prep your tricks. You can go buy the materials to perform your tricks. You can even go to the stage and not only rehearse your trick, but then ultimately perform your trick. And it's just awesome. I'm making it sound a lot easier than it is. This game is kind of a beast, but I love it. It's got custom dice. There are 48 unique tricks. Each person in the game is going to play a unique magician. So, for example, I could play as the escape artist, and then I'm going to get bonus points for performing those specific tricks pertinent to my specialty, which is escape artists. And then you could play as like an optical illusion person. There's like a mentalist. I mean, there's really cool things. There's also an expansion called the Dark Alley. I think it's called the Dark Alley. I don't have that particular expansion. This game is heavy enough as it is that it's kind of intimidating for me to add anything to it. But I love the game itself. Not only are you going around prepping tricks, but you're working with other individuals that you recruit, like engineers and beautiful assistants, and they're helping you as well. And it's really cool because the way you place your people out on the board is very interesting. So you as the magician can get a certain number of actions if you go out to a certain location. Your assistant can get a certain number of actions. But your assistant and you have different number of actions you can take if you go to the location. So if I get 3 actions from going to the market to buy stuff, my assistant might only get 1 action there. And you have to determine, is it worth it for me to spend all these actions here so I can go first? Because you want to be able to go first to get the actions you want. Or is it worth for me to take a step back and go somewhere else? The game is great. It is for 2 to 4 players, but I might do a solo mode playthrough on the channel with just 2 players back and forth, so you can get a feel for how heavy this game really is. There are other people on YouTube that have done playthroughs of this and have done really good instructional videos on this. I suggest going to look at those versus actually going and reading the rulebook. The rulebook is not written well, but that doesn't mean the game is bad. And I think that's what happens with a lot of heavier games, is the rulebooks, if they're not written well, people just say, you know what, this game is too difficult. Use your resources. Go to Board Game Geek. Go to YouTube. Find people who have spent the time to teach the game to you, and then you can have a lot more fun with these types of games. So 2 to 4 players. It says 30 minutes per player. Setup takes 20 minutes on its own. I'm not even exaggerating. Setup takes a while. This game is going to take you an afternoon. When I played it for the first time, I think we spent 3.5 hours playing, and that was a 2-player game. That was also teaching, and that was also setup and teardown. So, I mean, it's an awesome game once you get into it, and that's why it's on my list. But again, it falls a little short at number 33 just because of being able to get it to the table. Not a lot of people want to play it. When I explain the game to people, they love the idea. They really want to play this game. And then I tell them it's a hard game, and I show them all the pieces and all the components. They say, you know what, forget it. Let's play something a little bit easier. But once I do get them to play it, and once they understand it, it's awesome. This is definitely a heavy Euro game. This game, they say 15 plus. That is accurate. My daughter will not be playing this game anytime soon. But it's really great. It's by Mind Clash Games. It was put out in 2015. I don't think it's in print anymore. I do think it's out of print, but if you can find yourself a copy and you like heavy Euros, pick this bad boy up. It's fantastic. And that is my number 33, Trickerion Legends of Illusion. Number 32 on my list is another game that is a story game. If you remember back on our last list, we talked about a story-based game. I won't spoil it just in case you didn't watch that list. But it's also by the same company who put out that particular story-based game. And that is a game by Plaid Hat Games, Mice and Mystics. This game is awesome. Love this game. I know I say that about all my games. I mean, let's be honest. This is my top 50, so all the games are awesome. This particular game is a cooperative game where you are working together. My dog is barking in the background. I have a 6-month-old puppy out there, and he's barking up a storm. This game is awesome. This is a really good introductory, not only an introductory co-op, but an introductory heavier game for kids. It is they say 7+ on here, and I think that's pretty accurate. But as you're looking at the game and you're playing with the game and you're playing with all the minis that come with the game, I mean, I'm going to show you. There's so many beautiful minis that come with this game. It looks like a heavy game, but it's not. It's a very light game. It's just got a lot of components to it. I gotta get out all these boards. Look at all this. This is all these boards that are in here and all these cards. But it's got a ton of beautiful, beautiful minis and custom dice and all these tokens and all these ability cards. The game is fantastic. What you are doing in this game is you are taking on the role of a group of adventurers, princes and princesses, wizards, mages, Dungeons and Dragons style characters, and you have been turned into mice because there's an evil sorceress who's trying to take over the kingdom. Unfortunately, the spell that turned you into mice to help you escape from the evil sorcerer is non-reversible, so you're stuck as mice. And you're making your way through the castle, through the walls and the sewers and the kitchen and the courtyards, trying to fight off all of the minions that the evil sorcerer has turned into rats and spiders and scorpions, and it's just so, so cool. You play as a different character. I mean, there are specific characters. They have character abilities. This is what some people call a role-playing game in a box, or an RPG in a box. I think that's pretty accurate. You take the character, you work with them, and you can just keep playing with them. There's a ton of different scenarios in this game. I'm not quite sure how many specific scenarios are in here, but off the top of my head. But there are a bunch of scenarios, and there's also a few expansions that have come out that add to this game as well. So as you make your way through the castle, you're going to be fighting off these individuals, and there's a storybook that comes with it. And my daughter loves the story of this. I actually read it to her. I know I'm not the only gamer who has done this. I got that idea from another gamer on YouTube, but I read her the stories that are included in the book to try to get her to play the game. She loved it. Then we played it. She loved it even more. We haven't played it in a while, though, and I think that's because of the game in the last list, the last chunk of 10, because that game is newer, and so we've kind of been focusing on that one. But this one still hits higher than that one, and I think it's because of theming and just because of replayability. We still go through all of the maps and go through them. We've played it a bunch. We've gone through the game like 4 times. But I still love playing it. I play with other people, and even though I know how to play the game, other people might not, and I can work with them. Good introductory game to the hobby. I absolutely love it. It is a 1 to 4 player game. There's a solo mode, so maybe we'll do a solo gameplay. Comment down below what games you would like to see me do a solo playthrough of so you guys can see the game. If this is one of them, hey, maybe we'll do it. And it says 60 to 90 minutes. Depends on the scenario that you're working through. The first scenario is very, very quick. Last one takes a little bit longer. But there's also things you can unlock throughout the game, like other characters and other abilities, and it's just fantastic. So if you like role-playing games, but you're a little intimidated by having to actually create a character, go with a game like Mice and Mystics, where the character's created for you, and all you have to do is go through the story. And the story is given to you as well. All you have to do is basically roll dice and attack your enemies. It's really, really great. I can't recommend this game enough. It's my number 32, Mice and Mystics. We are ending this particular chunk of 10 with a very light game. We've had a lot of heavy games, or midweight games on this chunk of the list. But let's take a look at something super, super light. It's a dice game which completely replaced Yahtzee for me. Not that I played Yahtzee a lot anyway, but this replaced it for me completely. And that is King of Tokyo. There's also King of New York. I've never played that one. I've heard that it plays similarly with just a couple different things. Overall, I've heard this one's better. I can't speak for that. My game has been played a lot. It's got some love on it. It's been loved a lot. There's some wear and tear on the box, but in this game you are taking on the role of one of, I think it's I don't know how many monsters come in the base game. I have a couple. I have quite a few. This isn't my only box. I have another one in there with more monsters. But you can play as a bunch of different monsters. Let me get to them so I can show you because they are just so cool. All these different monsters. So you got like a little dragon guy. This is my daughter's favorites. I believe that one's Cyber Kitty. Yes, or Cyber Bunny. She really likes Cyber Bunny. There's another dragon, there's an alien monster, there's like a Cthulhu monster, and then there's like a King Kong. He's called the King, but come on, he's King Kong monster. So you take on the role of one of these monsters, and you are trying to be the King of Tokyo. So you have a board with Tokyo on here, and what you're doing is rolling dice to attack the other monsters, get special abilities. It's awesome, 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 just attacking people, and it's kind of take-that-y. If you don't really like take-that games, I probably wouldn't recommend this game to you, but it's not as take-that-y as like Munchkin or, you know, other card take-that games. But you are vying to be the King of New York, and to do that, you have to eliminate all your other opponents, and that is the easiest way to do it. This is by Yellow Games, and it is 2 to 6 players, 8+, and 30 minutes to play. That's all pretty accurate. My daughter started playing this when she was about 6 years old, and she loved it. It's also a game by Richard Garfield, who's an amazing designer. So let's be honest here. Like, King of Tokyo is the way to go. The reason it doesn't go into the top half of my list and it's kind of in the bottom half is because of playability. It's definitely a playable game. We love this game, but it's a lightweight game. And as my daughter is getting older, she is playing more of the heavier and midweight games. So the lighter weight games are kind of taking a back seat to those. We still play this one. One of my friends and his son, they come over and we will play. This is a game that they really enjoy because it's so fast and we can just kind of throw it in between midweight games. So they really enjoy this game, and they're also very good. His son is very good at this game. He won the last time we played, and by a lot. So, but that is a lot of reasons why that this game is my number 31. If you like Yahtzee, give this a shot. If you like any sort of dice chucking games, give this a shot. My number 31, King of Tokyo. And that's going to do it for this chunk of the list. We are 2/5 of the way through my top 50 games of all time. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, make sure you go ahead and give this video a like, hit that subscribe button, and ring the bell so you can be the first to know when more videos are uploaded right here on Instant Gameplay. This is Sean for Instant Gameplay. Thanks for watching.